We're going to talk about the supplies that you need for APD 200, and I'm just following along with the list that's available on the website as well. The first thing we're going to talk about are our parts for our sewing machine. So we use Juki lock stitch industrial sewing machines, and the parts like the presser feet, the bobbin cases, the needles are not sold at your typical fabric outlets like Joann's and Walmart. I repeat, you will not be able to purchase the proper sewing parts, sewing machine parts at Joann's or Walmart. These are standard industrial feet. The bookstore does carry them, so yay, you can just buy them at the bookstore if you want. You can also order them at some other online sources. You just need to make sure you're ordering by the part number. So the first thing we're going to look at is our hinged presser foot. So this is just a standard presser foot, and it's hinged, it moves a little bit, and it is part number 24983. So that is the foot. Then you'll also need a zipper foot. So see how the difference between the two. There's your standard foot and there's your zipper foot. Those are the only feet you're going to be required to have. There are other feet available at the bookstore, but those are the only two you must have. Then you'll need a bobbin case. So again, you can't buy this somewhere like a Joann's, and if you have a bobbin case at home in a home machine that you think looks like this, it 99% of the time will not work in our machines, 99.9% of the time. So just buy one of these bobbin cases, because if you put the wrong parts in our sewing machines, you can damage the machine and you can damage your part, and you don't want to break a bobbin case. So the standard bobbin case, there are some differences even in industrial sewing machine bobbin cases, so make sure that you get the part number that's on our list for that. And the bookstore carries these. I would recommend buying this from the bookstore just because in the past, every now and then they get a batch that will break, and then you can just walk back over there and swap out your broken one. But anyway, bobbin case. Bobbins, then you need at least a couple of bobbins to go in the bobbin case. So whether they have holes on both sides, holes on just one side like mine, no holes, that part doesn't matter. It's just that they have to be the right size to fit in here. So again, if you have metal looking bobbins like this in your home, Bernina or Brother or whatever, they're not gonna fit. So just don't try. Just buy a few bobbins. And then the needles. So needles are different in the home machines from the industrial machines. So you'll have to buy a set of needles. Different brands just kind of look like, different packaging, but they all go by these codes here. So like the DB1, 16 by 231 is what you're looking for. Let's see, this one, 16 by 231, DBX1. Yay, so, even though they're different brands, these are needles that are gonna fit our sewing machines because they have that code. Now, size-wise, I guess you want this, this is the size that we want, the 80/12. So you'll see sizes listed like 80/12 some of the times, but that's the size for just our basic mid-weight fabrics. That works very well, and woven fabrics. As you can see here, another size is like a 70/10, so that's going to be a little bit smaller, more for lightweight fabrics. This 90/14 would be for a slightly heavier weight fabric. So this is the size you want. You need some good fabric scissors. I recommend just going on and getting a stainless steel 8-inch knife edge dressmaker shear. The Ginger brand is very popular. There are some other brands out there. These are not sold at the bookstore. So shop around. You can get these sharpened and tightened up, and they'll treat them good. They'll last forever. But you do need a really good pair of scissors that will cut fabric neatly and well. And also, we need a nice point on the end, because sometimes we have to get really close in. And occasionally I'll see a pair that's kind of blunt-ended, and that will not help you get into the points. So just look for a pair that's got a really nice point there. Straight pins, okay, and then something to hold them in. So I have, you know, like tins, or the magnet things are good, or if you're a pin cushion person, go for it. I like just the Dressmaker pins. I say on the list size 20 or 17. Steel's great because they do work for the magnets, or even if you drop your bin and you can pick them up with the magnet. I am not crazy about the kind with the little colored plastic heads. There's one. There's a few reasons I don't like these. One is that they can break off, and so every now and then I'll see one of these pins sticking out of a dress form, let's say, with the head broken off, and then it's just as if the end, it's a nice sharp pin that can hurt somebody. Some of these things are made of plastic, and then if you did have the pin at the ironing board, you could risk melting the head of the pin. And I mean, really, like this basic, just all steel flathead kind are what you see in workrooms. So it's the professional standard of pins. Flip our page over here. Hand sewing needles. And I don't have like an original container. I put mine in this thing, but I do say some different lengths, but like sharps or betweens. I mean, we're doing small needles, thin, small needles, not big, huge embroidery or craft needles. The smaller the better on the needle when we're hand sewing. And we do a little hand sewing. That's a really good needle there. Look, it's like just over an inch long. So you'll need a ruler. Let's see, this one, I can at least show you the inches side. I mean, something like these seam gauges would do. We're gonna be cutting some things that are, like 8 inches long, so it's handy to just have a 12-inch ruler or something. But something to measure with will be useful. And then you're probably gonna need a seam ripper. This is one style. There are many different styles out there, but this we use to like unpick stitches. A lot of times, it's stitches that aren't correct, but sometimes, we are using it to pick out stitches we knew all along we'd have to remove. So Seam ripper's a good thing to have. You need a screwdriver, a slot end, just the straight flat end screwdriver to attach your presser feet and needles to the machine. Now I suggest something about this or this size for the sewing machine parts. If you have one of these tiny ones, it's just, you don't have enough physics working for you to get some of the things really tight. These are really good, these tiny ones, for like changing needles in the sergers when we get to it. So if you come across a tiny one like this, keep it, but you don't necessarily have to have it right now, and definitely something a little bigger will work better for you. As far as thread goes, we need some all-purpose sewing thread. So these are the two main brands that you'll find at Joann's. See how that says all-purpose? That's what we need. This brand, they call it like sew-all thread. Get a couple of contrasting colors. So here I've got black and then this lighter color. Because what we're gonna do is sew with one color in the top and then another color in the bobbin. So, here I could be black and red or that and red. That'll help identify where some problems are should you have tension problems with your sewing. And do not worry about thread matching your fabric for the samples that we're doing. Nothing needs to match, so just get some contrasting colors. You need 5 zippers, just all-purpose, at least 7 inches long. They could be longer. I'll show you how to shorten them if you've got one that's longer. Just make sure they're like polyester or nylon teeth, not metal teeth, and that they're all-purpose, not invisible. And again, color doesn't matter, just whatever color you can find. And I'll tell you, buying them individually, they are not cheap, so you might just want to buy a pack of 10 if you see some online somewhere. You'll need something to carry your stuff in. I've used one of these like 3-tiered things. I would say make sure that your scissors will fit into the container. The bottom parts of this are just open, so my scissors fit. And then the last thing to talk about is fabrics. You'll need a couple of yards at least of 100% cotton, woven, plain weave, printed fabric. So here's an example of some fabric that I've used in the past. I've used this. Something like quilter's cotton, calicos, those kind of things. Don't get a flannel. It should not have any stretch in it. And look for like lighter colors, because if you get something dark, then we can't make a mark on it when we need to write your name on it or your grade on it or whatever. Now here's a fabric that's a little too lightweight, even though it's a plain cotton weave. It's a lot thinner and just a little. I can kind of see through it a bit. So I would avoid super thin and avoid thick. The other thing about this fabric that's a good example is you want to be able to tell the right side from the wrong side easily. So here are my penguins. I can pretty easily tell right from wrong. Same on this one. But then this one's so thin that when they printed through, the dye, like I have to kind of really pay attention and concentrate, and we don't need to be worrying that hard. So sometimes people get excited about like the white printed on white, real pretty stuff, and I do like it, but then it becomes very hard to tell the right from the wrong side. So just make it easy on yourself. You need a couple of yards of unbleached 100% cotton muslin. The higher thread count kind is better, and for these fabrics, I'll have little swatches for you all the first day I see you, but if you're wanting to shop ahead of time, you can just, that's why I'm doing this video. But we need a couple yards, like I said, of this unbleached muslin, at least like 38 inches wide. So I don't recommend getting the 108 inch wide stuff or whatever. You know, if it's anything beyond 60 inches wide is just too much. You just want, you know, a nice mid-weight. If you can like really see the weave pretty easily, then it's probably not good. So get something that feels like this stuff. And if you cannot find any printed fabric, the one thing we could do is make printed fabric on our muslin here. So just, if you can't find any printed fabric that's 100% cotton woven of the right weight, you could get a couple extra yards of muslin and draw something on it to make it look printed. We need the right wrong side business for our samples to start off with. So making your own is an option if you have to do it. And then finally, a little bit of interfacing. Again, I'll have some for you for our samples, but you're gonna need some for your blouse project. So about a yard should do you. What I recommend is this fusible sheer weight interfacing. It's non-woven. You could use a knit as well, or even a woven fusible interfacing. And actually this non-woven stuff is really hard to find these days because of people making masks and whatnot. So I'll have some for your samples, but then you'll need it for your blouse project. And the other thing on my list is a 3-ring binder for your samples with some sheet protectors to put each sample inside the sheet protector.